Naked Heart Revolution is the go-to podcast for high-achieving individuals seeking to transform their relationships and life. Hosted by Jenny Bingham, an intimacy reset coach. Each episode explores emotional reconnection, personal growth, or business insight through expert guests sharing real stories and strategies. Whether you want to deepen your connection with your partner or elevate your business, this podcast delivers the tools and mindset shifts needed for lasting change. Subscribe to join the community focused on intentional healing and empowerment. If you've been feeling alone in your relationship, where you're not quite sure if you're completely strangers anymore, or you kind of know each other, except just you're in a hump, that's something that could be addressed with a few little tips and turns. Mind you, if you have a life-changing disease that takes control of you almost every second day, where your body is so exhausted, it takes you a full 24 hours to recover, how are you supposed to make the relationship stick? How are you supposed to go forward? How do you react that? How do you relate to your partner? Now, I'm sitting with Jane Rogers. She wrote a book about living with epilepsy, taking it in a humorous form. Laughing Through the Storm is the name of her book. She guides us through different stages in her life and obstacles that she had to overcome and realize there's a different way to reach another level. This series have a few parts to it. Here's the first part for you. Everyone who buys her book, all the proceeds goes to epilepsy research. So, hey everybody, here is Jane Rogers. Woohoo! Hello! She is the author of Laughing Through the Storm. So basically, she's a person who lived through, or living with, yeah, epilepsy her whole life. I'm not going to introduce it. How about you share? And that way you get
Absolutely.
the absolute different information.
Yeah, so I have been living with epilepsy since I was 13 years old. So basically, the last 32 years, I have been dealing with this disease. And my book is all about my story from the day I was born up until now. Stories of the ups and the downs and the unpredictability of this disease. But as well, a lot of humor in my book, which I find is very important because that's very much has been my coping mechanism growing up. Has always been humor, so that had to be a big part of the book.
Because humor is very important. Mm-hmm. So how did you figure out it was very important? Someone told you, you kind of stumbled upon it? Like, how did you put humor in such a disease that is, I'm guessing, life-changing?
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, I come from a family where we've always been, we always tease each other and have, a good humor side in the family. So laughing has always been a big part of who we are. And I found, especially in my 20s, there was a part in my story where it was really getting very difficult, and I found the best tool in my tool belt was humor. And like my mom and I would go to like the Blockbuster, that store that used to rent movies, So back then they were the VHS was becoming extinct, so it was like $2 for each video. So we were stocking up like big armloads of comedies to.
So for people who don't know, VHSs, videos. Now, see the size of this book. Now there is that side of the book, but a little bit smaller, is about this thick, and it's a plastic box, let's say. And then you put it into a machine, and it would play the movie. and you have to rewind and fast forward, and then when you're done, you take it out. So this is the size of it. A little bit smaller, but like this, and about twice as thick. So that's called a VHS. The VHS, or that was the actual box?
Well, no, just like the video, just the tape, the videotape. Tape.
Okay, and then the place called Blockbuster was an actual store where usually you would go there to rent movies for the week. Instead of going to the theater, you get those movies, you rent them, and then you bring them back. But then since they're being extinct, they were selling them for $2.
Yeah, we were like, yeah, let's just like get them all. You know?
Okay, so that explains that.
So yeah, that was really important at that time because it was my family and I, like, we really didn't know what would happen with me in the future, because there was a lot of uncertainty, and it is like that with epilepsy in general, the uncertainty of that disease. And at that time, things were not going well in my favor, so that's why humor was a big thing to help get me through that storm.
Okay, so do you have like an example of how humor actually helped you through certain times?
I've had, like I said, 32 years of definitely different places I've had seizures, and one of the most awkward places I've ever had a seizure is in the bathroom. Now, I'm not talking about brushing my teeth. No, I'm talking about when I'm on the toilet. And so I'm on the toilet and the seizure hits, and I'm never thinking of anything philosophical at the time whatsoever. I'm more thinking of, are you kidding me right now, brain? You couldn't wait one more minute? One more minute! And, but afterwards, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're gonna laugh about this someday, and you might eventually talk about it on a podcast. Yeah, so I've had, awkward places. That's a pretty awkward place. I've luckily, and the problem is like, well, for me, I was able to not fall on the ground, but, you know, it can be challenging, to say the least, when you're on the toilet.
So you were aware of what's going on? Because not many people know of being aware or not aware, being able to control or not control.
Exactly. There's a lot of epileptics who black out during their seizures, so they have no idea what happened afterwards or during it. But for me, I am fully aware. I stay awake the whole time. Now after my brain surgeries, I can talk and so forth during the seizure. I'm very aware of what's going on, and I can somewhat try to control myself to the point of not falling off the toilet or wherever, but it can be a little difficult. But I mean, there's positives and negatives to that. Like the positives is always that, like, I can protect myself to an extent to not getting hurt. But on the backside, it's like I'm aware of everything that's going on, and I'm aware that I can't do anything about it. So it's like freaks me out a little more, and I'm and you know, when you're feeling everything that's going on in the brain, it's very difficult to deal with. But I do know that at least I do have, I'm able to kind of protect myself to an extent. Whereas people who black out during their seizures, if they have no warning and they're like walking down the stairs, they're going to tumble down like a ton of bricks and break bones and things to that extent. Or even walking across the street, they could easily get hit by a car or anything, you know. So it can be very dangerous for them. Fortunately for me, though, I have warning signs. Yeah.
Okay, two things come to mind. First of them, you said when you had brain surgeries, so there's more than one?
Yes. So back in 2013, I went for testing at the Neurological Institute in Montreal, and I did 3 rounds of testing, a week at a time. And eventually they saw that I was a candidate for this surgery where they implant electrodes into the brain. My seizure activity is so deep in the brain that the typical electrodes they glue on your head was not doing a good enough job to find the area. So, but they do these surgeries where they implant electrodes in certain parts of the brain where like they'll kind of figure out what areas they need to look into, and then they so they put these big electrodes deep into the brain, keep them in there for a week, and then gather all the information and pray that they'll be able to find the exact starting points, which they were able to do. Luckily, they found two separate areas. So the temporal lobe is where my petit mal seizures were coming from, and the frontal was where the grand mal seizures were coming from. So I was booked in basically after them finding the areas. February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, I went in for my first brain surgery where they did the temporal lobe, where the petit mal was. Luckily for that brain surgery, it worked. I haven't had any petit mal since. But, however, when they went in for the frontal lobe, for the grand mals, they found that there was a little activity that spread over to my motor skills, and they could not operate there because, you know, for the fear of the paralysis, it's very high likelihood that they would, I would become paralyzed. So they did the best they could when they were operating there and stuff, but unfortunately, it didn't do the trick for stopping the grand mals. But you know, there was some good things that came out of that surgery. Basically, beforehand, my mom, she kind of described with trying to have a conversation with me was like pulling teeth. So it was like, oh boy, for like that bad. But anyways, it's like pulling teeth. However, after this surgery, for some reason, it's like they unclogged something. Something was clogged up there, and I was suddenly able to have a conversation with people a lot more easily. You know, asking questions and so on and so forth to people, and coming up to them and saying hi or whatever, you know. But before, it was like there was something that was blocking my ability to do those things, and at least they were able to unblock that, because you know that's obviously a good thing to be able to say, have a conversation with somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, because at first I thought maybe, you know, you were too shy or you weren't quite sure, but it's actually something your brain sees that was actually blocking that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're able to unblock it, or we wouldn't have this awesome conversation today.
Yeah.
Okay, so, oh boy, many other points are coming through my mind as you're describing the surgery and then how you went through and this part, that part. So there was two surgeries, or one surgery that was fully or pretty much fully successful. The other one they had to stop halfway. Was there another one, or those are the main two? Those
were the main two. It's like I said three because they were the one where they implanted the electrodes. They weren't taking anything out of the brain, but they were still, you know, they were putting something in there. So it counted for some sort of a brain surgery in some sense. But yeah, technically, yeah, there was two brain surgeries where they did take some little parts out of each part of the brain to analyze it too, and so forth. And but yeah, but every one of them were hard, to say the least, around the body. But you know what? In the end, like I mean, I was taking a gamble. Of course, there's always risk and so forth. But however, I was, you know, like I mean, I'm always striving to try to find something that will help improve the quality of my life. Yeah.
Oh, speaking about quality of your life, what about relationship-wise? You know, having another half a partner. If you're feeling comfortable, if you share a little bit about that, yeah, like how are things? Is it difficult, or how do you work around? Work around.
Well, I mean, when I first when Pascal and I first met, We met online on eHarmony. I decided from the start, I was like, I am not, going to be like, not telling anybody about this for a long period of time, and while I'm dating them. I was like, I'm putting at the top of at the top of the profile. I'm putting it right at the top, saying I have epilepsy. Take it or leave it, kind of thing.
Oh, that's a great thing.
Yeah, well, it was like, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. Like, I mean, you're okay with that and you can handle that, or you're not. So he looked at that and was like, no problem. But he's been, he has had to deal with a lot of stuff over the years. Like, I mean, we both really didn't know, well, like I said, it's so unpredictable. We didn't know where things would go. But he has been my steady rock this whole time, and we're navigating it as best as we can together. He knows me more, better than I know myself now. He can tell when something's wrong or whatever. He's like, you're gonna have one tonight. I know, I can sense all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, he, even like with me writing this book and him reading it now, he gets emotional about those times, especially with the brain surgeries, because he was there during that time, but he's been, my steady support this whole time, and I know that, I hope things will get better in the future for me, and yeah, it's kind of.
When you say better in the future, I just want to clarify: better in the future in a relationship, or better with the epilepsy?
Well, no, I mean like better. Well, it's just okay for me, of course, with the epilepsy, because the better in general when anybody's not well, it's like your health really affects every other part of your life. So, I could be doing, improving more as a wife, and helping with things around the house, and us just connecting more. While I'm in the midst of the storm of what's going on with my health, like I'm having them every 2 days right now, because I've been trying to transition over to a new medication. It's tough to, trying to focus in on our relationship, because I'm so wrapped up in what's going on in my brain with the storm going on all the time. I sometimes forget to, remember to see how he's doing and so forth, because I'm so involved in what's going on there. But when it's every 2 days, it's like I don't have enough time to bounce back and get back into things, so it's, I'm just trying to keep my head down and hoping that things will settle down. Like when it comes to when any epileptic changes a medication or goes off a medication you've been on for many years, our systems, like our nervous systems, are so sensitive that any kind of change, it really can just increase your seizures just like that, or any other kind of symptoms, and so it can be a big struggle. So you can't really be doing a ton of things at that time. You have to kind of assume that it's going to be a tough road ahead, so you gotta have to put your head down and just try to get over the hump of your body adjusting to these medications.
Mm-hmm. We just finished part 1 of the interview with Jane Rogers, the author of Laughing Through the Storm: Life with Epilepsy, Unpredictable, Unexpectedly Funny. Feeling alone in a relationship. It takes a strong individual. Yet when you have humor, playfulness, and a little bit of twist, things can turn around. She has all three. All right, until next time. Oh, all the sales, all the proceeds of her book goes to the epilepsy research.